Okay, so we're going to continue on with our lecture on speaking to inform. And as I said in the last video, we covered the four different kinds of speaking to inform. And so I'm sorry, my glasses are like deflecting the light. Sorry, that's weird. In any case, whatever. In any case, so then we're going to continue. We're going to continue on and going through each one of those and going through them in detail and explaining what it means. So this will be the longest portion probably of our presentation, but that's okay because we're going to be going over this in greater detail, so you guys are going to grasp everything, okay? All right, so here we go. Let's begin. Oop, actually, I forgot to share my screen. All right, cool. Here we go. All right, so as you guys can see, we're going to start off with speeches about objects, right? So speeches about objects, much like your cultural artifact speech, is something that you display, right? So it's going to be an object that you display, something that's tangible, something that you can show, right? And then given that we are in a virtual realm right now, everything is actually displayable. So we can display absolutely everything. As long as we can imagine it, we can do it. So that is what it means to do speeches about an object. However, it's a little bit different because it's not like a cultural artifact speech is when your cultural artifact speech was basically your narrative about it. This is more informative in nature, and I'll explain. So this means like if you're going to give a cultural artifact speech, or not a cultural artifact, if you're going to give an informative speech about an object, right, you can give it about the types of like service dogs that are bred for service dogs only, right? Or like the types of dogs that are used for police, like police cars or chases or whatever the hell they use them for. Or you can do it on like the types of vaccines or medicines that are used for like to fight for the coronavirus, right? These are particular things in which you're able to speak about as they are objects, but you're speaking about them informatively because you're going to have to do research for your informative speeches. And this is why this one is so important to understand, is that you're going to have to cite everything, right? And so and the last point here just says, like, you know, consider these things, but you're going to have to find resources to be able to prove that, like, yes, these are the types of dogs that they use to breed for service dogs. These are the types of medicines that they're using to help fight the coronavirus, right? You're going to need facts, and it's not just going to be about like your own personal experience. I'm going to want to hear facts. I'm going to want to hear you cite it as well. Okay, so moving on, we're going to be talking about speeches about processes. And speeches about processes are processes that are done by telling the audience how something is being done or created, right? So that's what a process means, right? It's something like that. But your book defines as a process as a systematic series of actions that lead to a specific result or a product. And this is kind of something that you can do where it's like it's a process that displays like how a company is ran, right? Like you're telling us like how the company runs, like does it run from top to bottom, does it run from bottom up, like who runs the company, give us an explanation, show us the facts, show us the statistics on how it's done and why it's done that way. Also, you can tell us about a process on how to make something, right? Like I don't know if you have guys ever seen this. I think it's on like the History Channel or something like that, but it's like how it's made, right? So they show you like how to make rubber, and like where rubber is made, how the process of how it's all done. And so when you think about speeches, especially informative speeches that are about processes, make sure to keep that in mind because you're going to have to show us and cite it through like scholarly sources, but also through other sources as well. You're going to have to tell us exactly how it's being done, and you're going to have to show who said that and when it was published, where it was published, and why, all of that sort of stuff. So when you think about your speeches about processes for your informative speech and your persuasive speech, keep those things in mind as well, okay? All right, so let's continue. The next one is going to be speeches about events. So it's going to be informative speeches about events. And this is to inform your audience about a particular event in time that's happened or it's regarded to happen, right? Or it's happening, right? And this is defined in your book as well. Um, an event is defined as anything that has happened or is regarded to be happening, right? So a pandemic, right? That is happening, right? Currently still happening, you know, it's still affecting the world, right? That's an event that has happened, and it's almost been a year. Can you guys believe that? Almost a freaking year. I'm like so over it. And anyways, it could be an event like a shooting on campus. It could be a school shooting. It could be like anything like that, right? Those are particular events, right? They don't have to be tragic or terrible, but it could be that like the Nobel Prize winning people who were just announced, you know, like they discovered like a black hole. Like they were like, yeah, black holes are real. They're not just theoretical anymore. They're real. Like they're very real. Or an event that happened, and I don't really think you guys should be doing it, but like the photo that was taken in like Arkansas or like Arizona of that devil, like that was some scary shit. But like that was an event that happened, right? It was just crazy. So think about events, think about events in that sort of like detail, and how you might be able to kind of work and figure out how those events would be happening. All right. And this is going to be the last type of topic for your informative speeches about concepts. And this one's going to be a little bit like different, okay? So stay with me. So speeches about concepts are about abstract thoughts and ideas, right? So what is an abstract thought and idea, right? So one of the questions that was on the midterm was like, what does Shane study? I study Japanese cholos, which is an abstract, right? Because we don't, like, Japanese individuals aren't Chicanos, right? Because they're not Mexican American. But also, like, I take that back. That actually can happen. Never mind. I'm talking specifically about individuals who are born and grown up in Japan, right? So never mind. In any case, or you can do like virtual reality, right? Where it's like, how is character identification happening within a virtual realm and why does it happen? That's an abstract thought and it's an abstract idea, right? These are concepts. But in your book, concepts are defined as the belief, theory, idea, notion, principle, and all of the shit in between, right? So like when you're thinking about a concept, think about like the theory of like relativity, right? Think about like E equals mc squared. These are concepts, these are ideas, these are thoughts, these are abstract, right? There's nothing that can be proven, but it's more than likely that that is why it is happening, right? Principles are things that are like proven. Those are also called laws, but there's theory behind it that gives you the best educated guess, and it can be tested over and over and over. That's what a theory is. So to kind of wrap this up, I'm going to stop sharing my screen there for a minute. You guys should have already answered all of the questions I had posed within the micro lecture, but we're going to move on to the last portion. It's only a 3-parter this week, but it's a little bit dense. So make sure that you guys are taking notes and like asking questions if you need them. But the last part, we're going to go over like the guidelines, so like some guidelines and some ideas and what you might want to keep for your informative speeches going forward. Okay, so I will see you guys in the next video.